Good morning, friends. It is very good to be here this morning. Thanks for joining us here at Journey Home Meditation for the morning sit. I am Michael, and I'm going to take some responsibility this morning for opening a little shared breathing practice and some contemplation on some ideas. We've got a couple of really good poems to share this morning to help us along in our practice. And all of that is to say, I'm very happy to be here today. Let's just begin with a few breaths this morning. Take a few moments to start to quiet the mind and the body to listen to the subtle voice that's arising. When moving into a practice, beginning with the breath is always a very fine place to start. First of all, if you're doing it, you're alive. So the practice is good. Even if you plan on dying someday, the practice is good. So let's stick with that at least. And when you're bringing some intention and some focused attention to your breathing, you can begin to shift in ways that when we are mindlessly moving through our days, we may not be conscious of. Little things in the breathing practice make a very big difference. It's a very subtle practice. So, as you begin to become aware of the breath, first start to recognize the quality of your in breath and your out breath. When you're breathing in, just pay attention to where the air is going, how the body feels as it receives the breath. Where are you finding tension and closeness in that in breath? And then as you breathe out, one thing that I think that we tend to do in this body, these bodies that we have, we tend to reserve some air back. We exhale, but we don't exhale entirely. It's very rare that when you're breathing out, you really expel all of that breath that your body holds. In fact, most of the time, I think we are probably only exhaling for half of the amount of time that would actually be beneficial. Of course, you will survive. You're going to be fine, inevitably. But when we can have that focused attention and we begin to breathe out entirely, we start to open up these sensations that we're not used to having. And in doing that, we are bringing an awareness to something we are not used to being aware of. So it's a fine thing to do. It's a fine practice. So let's have a few shared breaths together. And when we're breathing in this morning, breathe in gently through the nose to the bottom of the belly, making the abdomen stretch and enlarge. And when you breathe out slowly but entirely, forcing that diaphragm to push back into place, and all of those muscles of the ribs, the chest, the stomach, the abdomen, the lower body, all begin to contract, contracting, pushing that air out of the body. And if you find yourself able, hold at the end of your exhale for just a few moments, and then hold at the end of your inhale for just a few moments. So there's a space between the breaths where we are in stillness. And when you're in that stillness, really bring that attention into the body. Really see what begins to open. Give it a shot. Takes a few minutes. You got nothing to lose and don't cost a dime. Let's have a few breaths. I'm going to invite the bell. Breathing in through the nose. And slowly breathing out. And breathing in. And out. And in. And out. Sometimes that beginning is the hardest thing. The most difficult thing to do sometimes is to find the beginning. When I sit in the morning at the typer and um, to work on a morning poem, it's always those first couple of words that are either immediately there and begin the flow, and the door opens and the poem spills out. And sometimes there's like this bit of breath that's just stuck. And you can't really begin until you get through that block. So I think there's a lot like that in a lot of places in our lives, that beginning feels really large. But I think that that's only because we're not ready necessarily to lose some of who we think we are. You have to be willing to lose a little bit of who you think you are. Doesn't mean you're sacrificing yourself. It doesn't mean you're losing any part of yourself, but you're losing a little bit of who you think you are, putting it up for debate. Now it's up for debate. I'm beginning this new thing, and who will I be in this moment? What's going to express in this moment? When I'm working with people in recovery, there's a really common thing, and I've talked about this before. There's a really common thing that occurs, that people in recovery get to a point in their recovery where they're doing what they need to be doing to abstain from substances that are taking them out of their ability to have awareness. The things that we do to avoid our suffering, avoid our pain, avoid our shame, avoid our guilt, avoid our feelings of abandonment or rejection, whatever it is, the drugs, the alcohol, those aren't the problem, right? Those were the solution we used to avoid the problem. And so as we take that away, now we're coming more face to face with these things. And a common thing that occurs is people tend to build identities around everything. uh, Even my t-shirt that I wear has identifiable markings on it that people would identify that. Oh, that's a John Coltrane t-shirt. So you like jazz. And if anybody knows anybody that likes jazz, talk about somebody who grabs an identity from a lifestyle choice. we, we take it real seriously at some point, as silly as it may get. But joking aside, we do form identities around the ways in which we survive. Identifying with the ways in which we survive is really what helps us to keep going in the face of despair and despondency. That identity of survivor pushes us through. So when we're beginning something new where we aren't able to use our excuse of survival to justify our identity any longer, we oftentimes don't know who we are. People will come to me and they'll say, I don't know who I am. Things are coming up for me where decisions need to be made, and I have no idea what to do. When I had drugs or alcohol or sex or pills or whatever it is, um, if I didn't know what to do, I knew what to do. I don't know what to do. I'm afraid I'm going to make a bad choice. I'm afraid I'm going to do something I haven't done before and not know what to do when I get there. I don't know who I am. And that crisis of identity, that loss of who we think we are, can be quite difficult. It makes it difficult to start something new when you don't know who you are to start this thing. And I'd like to remind the people that I'm speaking with, but also myself, that in the moments when you have a decision to make and you don't know exactly who you are, this is a good thing. And it's good for this reason, especially for those of us in recovery, especially those of us early in recovery, but really for anyone. In the moment where you start to feel like you don't know what to do because you don't know who you are, this is the opportunity for newness. This is the opportunity to break cycles. This is the opportunity to break into untouched land. You're going to be moving into this new territory. You're going to be becoming. If you were acting on what you already know, you're going to do what you've already done, and you're going to experience what you've already experienced. We know where that takes us. But if you're at this precipice and you have no idea what that next step is going to do, take it. Just take it. Take it and let all of those things that you thought you were stay where they are as you move forward, as you step into this next becoming. And it's terrifying. But we've been using prayer as a species for a very long time. And of course, like anything else where we've gone into the rooms that have caused us harm, we can associate our anger, resentment, bitterness, fear, abandonment, rejection, pain, suffering to anything adjacent to that which has caused us harm. So we now have people who get angry when the word prayer is discussed because there's an association, this somehow belief in this like white Christian nationalist identity that we have identified with a lot of the very vocal church, at least in the political realms of America. There's a tendency to want to distance ourselves from that. And there's an anger and a resentment that we hold for good reason. It's justified. It's justified. Let's not pretend that we are wrong when we are angry about harms that have been caused, that are being caused. It's justified. But the anger doesn't necessarily give us the clearest view of what we're seeing. It tells us how to prepare ourselves to fight, which is a good thing if you need to fight. But we associate the idea of prayer with something that is harmful, and we lose a bit of who we are. But there are so many cultures and so many practices and so many pathways and so many lineages that use prayer and understand and hold still through all of the pain and the suffering of the genocides that have been occurring since we don't even know when, in the name often of the religions and the ideologies and the cosmologies that use that word prayer. That the cultures that have survived, that are thriving, use prayer. People use prayer. And it doesn't have to look like what maybe you think it might need to look like. And I find it very helpful when beginning and not knowing who I am to have a moment of prayer. And this upsets some people, and that's okay. It's okay. I think we've been victimized and with weaponized use of the idea of prayer when people say as well, I'll pray for you. They're basically telling you to kick rocks, that they don't care about you at all and they wish that you weren't here. I've heard that use of I'll pray for you. And of course, every school shooting we see, people post on Instagram and social media thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers. And this gets minimized because we want action. We are in a elevated, heated space where we see that action is what's going to lead to our survival. So we get angry when people say, "Oh, my thoughts and prayers are with you." But I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing when somebody's thoughts and prayers are with us. And it took a lot of healing of my wounds to be able to come to that place where I can openly use that word lovingly and kind. And um, but prayer is a good way to begin. And one of my favorite teachings of Ram Dass, he was asked in a question answer session by someone, how do I speak to the universe and get it to give me what I need? And Ram Dass just looks up at the person asking the question and says, you are and you do. Next question. You are and you do. You are speaking to all of existence and you get what you need. There it is. So prayer is just the answer to how we speak to all of existence. And a beginning with humility, with silence, with a question and a curiosity is a fantastic way to begin a conversation. And a conversation is a wonderful way to begin anew. There are many relationships in my life that suffered and or are suffering. And really, there's one conversation that could turn it around. And beginning that conversation with curiosity, with a question, and with a little bit of listening goes a long way. And that's prayer. So I was thinking about that this morning as I was going through a little bit of those morning anxieties that come up. And I think, I'm trying to tell myself what to do. I'm telling, oh, stop feeling this way. Oh, just cut it out. Just get up and go do your mornings, make coffee, put on some music, just get up, stretch your body. That's what you need. You should just stretch. Stretching is the solution to everything. Just do some yoga. Everything will be fine. And I'm telling myself what to do. And then I remembered, why don't I just ask myself what this feeling is? Why don't I just ask anything what this feeling is? So I just closed my eyes and I just asked, what is this? And I sat in that prayer. What is this? And I don't know that I received an answer, but I did, in just asking the question, feel myself have a little bit of relief. My shoulders dropped just a little bit. My chest opened up just a little bit. And I exhaled. And it's okay if the answer is I don't know. It's the question that's important. And then I opened Mary Oliver when I got to the beside. And Mary Oliver tells us in her poem, Praying, it doesn't have to be the blue iris. It could be weeds in a vacant lot or a few small stones. Just pay attention. Then patch a few words together and don't try to make them elaborate. This isn't a contest, but the doorway into thanks and a silence in which another voice may speak. I think often I find myself, and I notice that others um, get so used to having to be in charge and feel like, we have survived, so we know what to do to survive, and this is what needs to happen right now. And so we have this voice that clicks on. This is what needs to happen right now. This is what you need to do. Do this, do this, do this. And we forget that that's just one voice. And there are other voices that might need to be heard to understand what could be done. So, prayer. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mary Oliver. That line. Pay attention, then patch a few words together and don't try to make them elaborate. This isn't a contest, but a doorway into thanks and a silence in which another voice may speak. Who we think we are doesn't have to always run the show. And if it does, we're only going to be who we think we are. And most often, we think we are not enough. We think we are not who we should be. There's the rub, right? There's that bind again, that trap, that place where we think that I'm not who I should be. But then we remain who we think we are. And so we ensure that ourselves will always remain closed. But when we can move beyond who we think we are, there's possibility. But I think that one of the things that's difficult about this is feeling like we don't have any leadership. We don't have anybody to get our backs. We don't have anybody to show us the way. We don't have as many teachers, I find, in our lives today that maybe we once had, or that other generations before us had, when cultures were intact and based in the land on which they lived. It seemed that teachings were just passed on through living. So we had all of the things that we needed to learn were just a part of the daily life, and we learned those things. And now we are in this world that the previous generation doesn't understand. There are youth that I work with that are going through things and experiencing the world in ways that I don't understand. I don't understand the language. I don't understand what they're feeling. I understand on human levels. We understand each other. We understand across all generations human experience, but we forget the teachers because it's not apparent anymore. It's not apparent who our teachers are. So we forget that we even have them. And we forget that not all of our teachers are in bodies. Not all of our teachers stand in front of us and tell us what to do. Some of our teachers can be the way that our body is made up of the bodies of those from before. The teachers can be the spirits in the land. It can be that intuition, that silent space that offers a quiet voice. That's could be the teacher. And bell hooks. We're moving on to number 6 in Appalachian Elegy by Bell Hooks. She talks about that. Listen, little sister. Angels make their hope here in these hills. Follow me. I will guide you. Careful now, no trespass. I will guide you word for word, mouth for mouth. All the holy ones embracing us, all our kin making home here. Renegade, marooned, lawless fugitives grace these mountains. We have earth to bind us. The covenant between us can never be broken. Vows to live and let live. The thought that you are alone is a thought. That's a thought. But who are you to believe that? Who are you to believe that thought that you are alone? There is not a breath that you have taken in your life that was not given. There's not a breath that you have released in your life that was not taken. It's that simple. Every drink of water has the molecules of the water of every person in our lineage back to the first mothers. The sweat off the brow of the first mother giving birth in your lineage is in that cool drink of water that you have today. There's not a single bit of us that is here on its own. Not a single bit. Just our thoughts. And even those, they're probably not all ours. It's okay. I don't have to be a miraculous hero. I don't have to be an anomaly. I can be a part of the whole. Even when I have difficulty feeling it or believing it, I can know that I'm a part of the whole. And Bell Hooks is here telling us in no uncertain terms, like, I got you. You need to listen word for word, mouth for mouth. The Holy One's embracing us. Yeah. We're held. Patterns are here. Pathways are already made. We don't have to reinvent anything. You just have to be able to say that little prayer and listen deeply. And then make that step. And there's not going to be a moment every time where you just know for sure what you're going to do or how it's going to turn out. That's not always going to be there. So you just have to take that step and just know you're held. You are and you do. You are talking to all of existence and you do get what you need. Thanks for the teachings, the lessons, and the love. I won't be doing the morning sit most likely Wednesday or Thursday this week. I'm receiving a lovely visit from a very dear person, and I'm going to spend time with them, and I'm going to spend time um, doing the things in the community this week that are being asked of us. If you are in the Southern Oregon area, and especially in the Illinois Valley, there's an awards ceremony tomorrow, community gathering at Forks Park that's going to be lovely. And I would encourage people to come out. We need to come together in these times and celebrate. We need to share meals. We need to breathe this beautiful spring air before the fires come. We need to have those networks like this net that's going to catch us a little bit. We just need to test the nets. You know, when you go to the docks in the morning, early morning, you'll see fishermen out getting ready to either go out or they're coming back. One of the two, there's a shift change, and they are testing the nets. They're going through and they're pulling on all of the connections to make sure that there's strength there. And that's how they have their livelihood. You know, they need to make sure that everything is in working order. What if we knew that our livelihood in our community depended upon us coming together and we tested those nets every now and then just to make sure that any holes in those nets where people are falling through, they might be mended. So we can mend that net before we lose anybody else. Just a thought. Take refuge in the Buddha, refuge in the Dharma, and refuge in the Sangha. Thanks for being here this morning. Let's test the net. Use your voice, communicate. Love to hear from you. See you on Friday.